Hello everyone, we are from Group 1 and today we'll be presenting about Chapter 2 that is Global, Ethical, and Sustainable Marketing. I'm Haikal and today I will be the first presenter of this presentation.
So the first topic that we're going to cover is marketing on the global stage. Nowadays, firms in this global economy are facing uncertainty in the future of global marketplace. For a number of years, consumers and world leaders have argued that the development of free trade and a single global marketplace will benefit us all. There are some reasons why many leaders want a single marketplace. The first reason is a single marketplace allows people who live in developing countries to enjoy the same economic benefits as those citizens of more developed countries. For example, as Indonesians, we can enjoy using iPhones that are created by America. The second reason is to avoid the greenhouse effect. What is it? It is the turning of our atmosphere into kind of greenhouse as a result of the addition of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. The result is it leads to a global warming, that is a warming of the planet Earth temperature that will have disastrous effects on the planet. These fears have caused many to demand international agreements that would force industries and governments to develop and adhere to the same environmental standards to protect the future of the planet. The third reason is Arab Spring. It is a series of anti-government protests and uprisings in a number of Arab countries facilitated by new social media tools that are available to people in the region. So you may be asking, what do these current events have to do with the marketing course? So what do these current events have to do with the marketing course? As we know, we are living in a global community, so everything that happens in any part of the world has a potential to influence what marketers need to do to be successful at home and around the globe. Now continuing to the world trade. It refers to the flow of goods and services among different countries, or in other words, it is the value of all the exports and imports of the world's nations. Due to the different economic backgrounds of each country, not all countries can participate equally in the world trade. It is often a good thing to have customers in remote markets, but it requires flexibility in order to serve the needs of the remote markets. In some countries, due to the insufficient cash or credit, trading firms work out elaborate deals in which they trade their products with each other or even supply goods in return for tax breaks from local government. This action is called counter-trading, which is a type of trade in which goods are paid for with other items instead of with cash. When firms consider going global, they must think about this in 4 steps that is shown in figure below. The first step is to choose where to go global. Is it in our best interest to focus exclusively on our home market, or should we cast our net elsewhere as well? The second step is to choose which markets to enter. We need to find which global markets are the most attractive and which countries offer the greatest opportunity for us. The third step is level of commitment. So we need to decide what market entry strategy, or rather what level of commitment is the best. The last step is how to adapt marketing strategies. Should we develop a unique localized marketing strategy for each country, or should we standardize what we do across all the countries where we operate? And then there's the globalization decision. The first one, we need to look at domestic and global market conditions and opportunities. Many firms decide it's time to go global in pursuit of profit and the opportunities for large growth. But of course, if there is still room to grow business and profits at home, it may not be a good idea to invest in the larger global market for now. And the second one is consider our competitive advantage. If a firm wants to go global, it needs to examine the competitive advantage that makes it successful in its home countries. The perfect question for this is, will this leg up travel well to other countries or will it not?
Good morning, friends, and I'm Ira. I'm Shella Griselda, and in this time, I'm going to talk about the marketing management learning object number 2, that is understanding international, regional, and country regulations. So, the background of this learning object is that we must know that company cannot rely on domestic competitive advantage because it doesn't guarantee success in foreign markets, and because of that, the domestic business should encourage to compete in the big open marketplace where companies from every country are doing business. Apart from that, to empower the business activities in domestic and international, we must follow the tire regulation in our country that is made by our governments. And yeah, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead to the first slide. First slide, before we talk about Indonesia regulation for business, we might dive deep into the existence of international organizations that concern in trade and open world market since the post-World War era until now. So the first initiative in international regulation and cooperation is that the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, or we call it as GATT. So it is established by the United Nations, and its main function is to reduce import tax levels and trade restrictions. And the second one, we have World Trade Organization, or we call it as WTO. It is created by GATT during a meeting in 1984 known as an Uruguay Round. So WTO is an international organization that deals with the global rules of trade between nations. Its main function is to ensure that the trade flows as smoothly, predictably, and freely. So the third one, we have International Monetary Fund, or we call it as IMF, and the fourth one, we have World Bank. So the main difference between IMF and World Bank lies in their respective purpose and functions. So the IMF itself oversees the world monetary system stability, while the World Bank goals is to reduce poverty by offering assistance to low-income countries. And also we have an economic communities. For the example is that NAFTA, or we call it as North American Free Trade Agreement, and also European Union. Well, in this slide, I will talk about protectionism for trade. So the first one, we have quotas. That is a limitation set by a government on the amount of product allowed to enter and leave a countries. And the second one, we have embargoes. That is a quota completely prohibiting a specific goods from entering country and leaving a countries. And the last one is we have tariff. It is a tax on imported goods. In this slide, I will talk about how country regulation facilitates a firm's opportunity and globalizations. So in this case, I did some research on Bappena's website about the regulation for business globalizations. And in this 2020, the government is planning to improve Indonesia logistic export. And actually, our government persuaded domestic company to go global by having a strategy of making Indonesia 4.0. So what is Making Indonesia 4.0? It is basically the program that will leverage our company inclusive growth in the coming decade based on 5 priorities that are food, garments, automotive, electronics, and chemicals. And in this time, I would like to give an example of how Indonesia government facilitate Indofood company to export their chain of supply. So the first one is our government is reducing regulatory and licensing burden. For example, we know that Indofood has its well-known brand for its noodle product, that is Indomie. It can be marketed using a license, for example, to Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, and Serbia. So this licensing method is very effective because it is mutually beneficial for both companies, and also it can make Indofood product well accepted in foreign countries. And the second one is enhance modern packaged food production by product innovations. So let's say, for example, the Pate Indofood reached an agreement with a Swiss company, for example Nestle, to establish a joint ventures. So this joint ventures company focus on the culinary business, for example food seasoning. It includes the development of innovation for seasoning food instant noodle products. And the last one is accelerate export and be the regional food and beverage powerhouse. For example, PT Indo Food also made a significant move by acquiring all shares of PT Pepsi Cola. So these acquisitions will strengthen their position to become one of the main players in the non-alcoholic beverage industry in Indonesia and accelerate their company growth.
Hello everyone, my name is Amir and now we're going to talk about the external marketing environment. So as an overview, the marketing environment is divided into 5 parts: economic, competitive, sociocultural, political and legal, and finally technological. It affects your decision in 2 kinds of ways. The first one is you're going to try to take a decision in domestic market, such as your target market, product decision, price, promotion, and distribution. And the second way is when you're trying to make a decision in a global market, such as what market to enter, which region, which nation, your level of commitment in every single nation, and how you adapt your marketing strategies in different conditions in a different location. The first one we're going to talk about is the economic environment. So the economic environment will affect a corporation in many ways. For example, a country with high inflation rate might have reduced purchasing power, or a country with high interest rate will affect the consumer ability to credit purchases. So to understand the economic environment in a location or in the region or country, there are several indicators that can be looked up. The first one is the GDP. The second one is the economic infrastructure, such as the transportation, distribution network, and their own financial institution and the stability. And the third one is the level of economic development, which involves standard of living. This is a pretty important aspect because a lot of times the GDP doesn't exactly reflect how well or how is the standard of living that the people in the country actually are. So there might be a country with high GDP, but the people itself doesn't have a lot of possible income to actually consume the product. And finally, the business cycle. Every single economy will face this business cycle, such as prosperity, recession, depression, and recovery. Especially during this COVID-19 hard times, which make a lot of countries are going through the recession in their economy, some even going through depression. So knowing these indicators and knowing what kind of marketing strategies is needed to actually enter a market is pretty crucial as the first part. The second part that we're going to talk about is the competitive environment. The first one being the micro-environment competition, which is competition for consumers' disposable income or the income that they have left after they fulfill their own basic needs. The product competition, a situation where the needs are similar, but you are offering different kind of products, such as McDonald's and Yoshinoya, which are providing the same need, which is food, but they are providing different kind of product, one being American product and the other being Japanese product. And finally, brand competition. It is the condition where the market are being offered the same kind of product, but with only differentiation in personal branding or the image of the corporation itself. This can be seen happening a lot in clothing lines such as shoe, Nike, Adidas, hoodie, and many more. The second part is the macro environment competition, which is the overall structure of an industry market. It ranges from one firm having total control to numerous firms that compete on an even playing field. Some example of this macroeconomic environment competition are, for example, monopoly. In Indonesia, you can see it in PT PLN for electricity and PT KAI for train service and transportation. And oligopoly, you can see it in Indonesia, such as in oil and gas with Pertamina, Shell, Total, which is the few big companies that control oil and gas in Indonesia. Or even airlines such as Lion Air, Garuda Indonesia, which is the small, only a group of company which hold the airline industry in Indonesia. Perfect competition happens when there are many small sellers, which none of them actually dominating each other, and which sufficient market to actually fulfill the supply and demand needs between the production and the consumer itself. So it's happening a lot in markets that are not usually globalized, right? Yet, such as farming and many more. And now we're going to move to technological environment. So lately, obviously, as we've seen in these few decades, online markets have grown significantly, which allow domestic product to go global. For example, if you're producing your own product in Indonesia, your product might have a consumer or a potential buyer all the way to US or even in Japan and many more. And many e-commerce such as Tokopedia, Lazada, Shopee, and many more are competing to gain customer or users. When we're talking about technological environment, we don't have to think about the one that are very, very futuristic, such as using a robot, using a drone. We can actually see it inside of the media itself, such as the application itself or the e-commerce. So technological advantage can give birth to attract a certain target markets. This is what are being done by Shopee with their own program Shopee Tanam. So this is a promotion that is done by Shopee in Indonesia, where if you use Shopee a lot, you will be able to water your own virtual plants and get actual reward from those. So this is the example of using a technological environment to actually gain a higher market share, not by using the most advanced technology that are available, but actually tweaking the technology that are already around the market to your own advantage. And then we're moving to political and legal environment, which is regional, national, and global laws and regulations that affect business. Many laws even affect ethics in marketing and advertising. For example, in Indonesia, you can see it in Indonesian Advertising Manner and Procedure, Chapter 2B, Paragraph C, which advertising may not directly or indirectly demean our product. So if in the global market we see two huge automobile brands such as BMW and Audi mocking each other, they are not allowed to do that in Indonesia, which is why the advertisement in here are a little bit different. And then political decision might drastically change market condition. For example, the US-China trade war, which have been happening since 2018. In the US, it has led to higher price for consumer and financial difficulties for farmers, while in China, it contributed to a slowdown in the rate of economic and industrial output growth. And finally, socio-cultural environment, which is the characteristic of the society, the people who live in that society, and the culture that reflects the value and the belief of the society. It can be measured through demographics, which is statistic that measures observable aspects of our population, such as population size, age, gender, ethnic, religion, income, and many more. The most significant example of the social cultural environment used right for marketing is on McDonald's. As we know, McDonald's changed their own line of product depending on what country they are. For example, in India, since they don't eat cow right there, the Big Mac is changed to something that uses potato-based meat or chicken-based. But in Indonesia, we have the bubur ayam. In Japan, they have the one that is using a teriyaki seasoning and many more. So this is the example of using socio-cultural environment as an advantage in our marketing. And that's all for me for the external marketing environment. Thank you for your attention.
Hello everyone, my name is Bagus Charma and I will be covering part 4 of our presentation, which will be on global market entry strategies, as it is highly imperative to comprehend the strategies as well as the factors that could influence the success of going global. Evaluating which market entry strategies is most appropriate for a given country can be difficult, as there will be a set of advantages and disadvantages that must be put under consideration for each choice. In addition, they would need to tap into things such as pestle, political, economic, social, technological, law, and environmental factors to further sharpen their decision-making before entering the foreign market. In this slide, there are several strategies that can be implemented, which highlights the level of risk, level of control, and the options made available. Just a brief explanation on each of the choices. Exporting strategy is when businesses tend to sell their products overseas, and they could use the help of export merchants that act as intermediaries of the business to sell their goods on their behalf, since they understand the local markets better. Therefore, their product quality is guaranteed, as the products are coming from the home country. Contractual agreement is when a licensor firm gives another firm the license or the right to produce and market its product in a specific country, such as franchising. Strategic alliance is when a firm chooses to develop an even deeper commitment to a foreign market, which forms an alliance with one or more domestic firms in a target country to perhaps create a new entity, such as joint venture. Lastly, direct investments. A deeper level of commitment when a firm expands internationally through an ownership or simply put, a takeover of the domestic firm in a target country, instead of starting from scratch. As can be seen, as we go to the right, there has been an increasing trend in the level of risk and the level of control. So here are the advantages and disadvantages of the strategies mentioned before. So for exporting strategy, the advantages are low investment and can maintain quality control, since what I mentioned before. The disadvantages are limited on growth and perceived as foreign products. Contractual agreements, they avoid barriers to entry, limit financial investment, and thus risk. However, franchisee may not use the same ingredients, and thus may harm the brand image, which cause that medium level of control that has been mentioned before. And strategic alliance, easy access to new markets, preferential treatment by government and other entities. However, high level of risk, financial risk involved, since they have to do a lot of paperwork or other legal or political requirements that must be conducted firsthand. And lastly, direct investment. Maximum freedom and control, avoid import restriction. However, it has the highest level of commitment and financial risk, since they have a threat for nationalization if the government is unstable in that country. So, in order to go global, the business will also need to consider to adapt the marketing mix to the targeted country. To run it down, straight extension is basically the exact same product in both domestic and the foreign market. Product adaptation is at its name, the product are slightly adapted to the foreign market. Product invention, new product will need to be developed in that particular country. And backward invention, product developed will be less advanced to meet the needs of the locals. For price, free trade zone, like what was mentioned before in NAFTA on the second part of our presentation. Gray market goods, items that are imported without consent of the trademark holders. And dumping, which deliberately selling the price of goods for far lower than competitors to destroy competition in that specific market. Promotion and place will be more or less the same concept, but they need to adjust to the country. And especially for promotion, they will need to find ways to appeal to the domestic people, whether to use the domestic language or English, for example. I will also be covering part 5, which will be tapping into ethics in marketing planning. So by definition, business ethics is the basic values that guide a firm's behavior, since every individual perceives ethics differently due to the environment, friends, and families they grew up in can influence them. And with this basic foundation, it will be their guide for decision making in the future. Usually, the business ethics will be written in the Code of Ethics, where everyone in the organization must subscribe to it, like this YouTube channel. So here are several examples of common ethical philosophy. First up, utilitarian approach. Decision that provide most good and least harm. Right approach, decision that which is best to provide moral rights of all. For example, the rights to decide what kind of life to lead, the rights to be told the truth, the rights not to be injured, the rights to privacy. Next is virtue approach. Decision that is agreement with a certain ideal, for example, honesty, courage, or unity, etc. in an organization. And then common good approach, decision that contributes to the good of all in the community. And lastly, fairness or justice approach, decision that treats all human beings equally. So, as you can see, how these ethical philosophies are highly important for businesses, especially for those who are IPO or initial public offering, as all information must be open to public. And with that, it will be the end of part 4 and part 5 of this presentation. And next, my colleague will be explaining about sustainability. Thank you.
Okay, now it's my turn. My name is Maharani Divaningtyas, and today I would like to present about the table number 2.6, some common ethical philosophies. What constitutes ethical behavior is often different for different people. The depicts how various ethical philosophies may guide people's decision. For example, like if one uses utilitarianism as a means of making a decision on different safety features to include in a new product, the ethical choice is the one that provides the most good and the least harm. And then moving on to table number 2.7, AMA Code of Ethics. It shows that the ethical norms there are do not harm, foster trust in marketing system, and also embrace the ethical values. The next one is the ethical values, which are honesty, responsibility, fairness, respect, transparency, and citizenship. AMA is the abbreviation of American Marketing Association. And here's the marketing unethical. As we can see here, marketing serves the rich and exploits the poor, which means many marketers are concerned about their bottom line, but they also want to provide a better quality of life for all customers. And then the products are not safe. Whether marketers are truly dedicated to providing their customers with the safest product possible or because of the fear of government regulation and liability issues. Another thing is also poor quality products, which means many people bemoan of the loss of the US manufacturing, feeling that important products such as textiles and furniture are of poor quality. The next one is planned obsolescence, which means in order to remain profitable, marketers must offer new products after an excess product has been on the market of period. The next one is marketing creates interest in products that pollute the environment. Yes, it is true that those guzzling SUVs remain on the market and that commercials, fertilizer, pesticides, and also insecticides continue to pollute the environment as farmers try to produce more and better food. Lastly, easy consumer credit makes people buy things they don't need and they cannot afford. Many are concerned about businesses such as payday loan and also car title loan companies that charge interest rates that can exceed 400% annually. Well, this is when is the bribe and not bribe. Basically, bribery occurs when someone voluntarily offers payment to get an illegal advantage. And extortion is basically occurs when someone in authority extract payment under duress. Here's the ethical sustainable decision in the real world. Like, for example, zombie that might happen nowadays. Like, zombie means smartphone zombie. Or injuries and deaths are increasing because people walk and text. Next one, how to developing a sustainable market. Here are the product strategies, price strategies, place and distribution strategies, and also promotion strategies. Product strategies mean sustainable product strategies include the production of more environmentally friendly products such as electric automobiles and also the other environmentally friendly and recycled materials in products and in packaging. Price strategies. Many customers would like to buy green products, but they don't because the price is higher than comparable traditional products. Next one is place or distribution strategies. Sustainable distribution strategies can include retailers who focus in reduction in the use of energy in order to the benefit from both monetary savings and also the loyalty of green customer. Okay, and the last one is promotion strategies, which means the most obvious sustainable promotion strategies are those that inform customer of the firm commitment to the planet and also the future generation through advertising and other messages. Okay, here it is, a sustainable customer behavior. Marketers should motivate customers to seek out, pay for, and use sustainable options. When customers become knowledgeable and about environmental concern and environmentally friendly products, they become part of sustainable marketing practices. Okay, I think that's all for our today presentation. Thank you for your attention. If there is question, please ask. Thank you.